I'm sorry, I also have to make a small disclaimer, because my role at the ECB Governing Council, we have this principle that the week before the monetary policy meeting, we're not supposed to discuss the euro area economy and monetary policy. So I don't want to break the rule, but so anything I say shouldn't be considered as relevant for the next week's decision. Exactly. But I think we can still discuss sort of principles.
This is not off the record, is it? No, it's not off the record. So
yes. So, but when you ask about the sort of the challenges, the lessons learned also, and how to go forward from here from a central banker's perspective, then I also think we have learned a couple of lessons over the last couple of years. The minister just said that we're now living in times of crisis that keep repeating. From the monetary policy perspective, I think we also learned that we just keep having those supply-side shocks, mostly related to geopolitics, also with, say, even climate. I think what we're experiencing now is that we're more frequent extreme weather events that are having an impact on the economy, and all of it is also having an impact on inflation. That's what we care about, the central bankers, on the economy at large, of course. And when we conduct our monetary policy, the difficult part is now to understand how much of that impact that we're seeing on inflation in particular, how much is it temporary, that we can sort of look through in a way, and how much of it is having a longer-term impact, because this is what we as central banks can really sort of deal with and have an impact on. And I think we have perhaps had a few misses. For example, in 21, when the inflation started going up in the euro area, there was perhaps for too long an understanding that it's only temporary and we don't have to react that quickly. But then, of course, there was a realization that we still need to do it, and also the ECB reacted in a I think, a forceful enough manner. And maybe just to mention a couple of other things, I think one lesson also is that that monetary stimulus, it's also not a free lunch, and we cannot sort of keep that on for too much of an extended period. It will lead to misallocation of capital, some financial stability risks also, and I think there's a problem with speaking of fiscal policy, of giving sort of too much incentives for the governments to sort of keep running a loose fiscal policy and providing sort of easy way to finance additional expenditure. And perhaps the very last thing, when we always talk about price increases and the inflation as being the problem, I think we realize now that for regular people it's not really the year-to-year change in prices that they're concerned about, but the price level. And this has now become so much higher. And even if the annual inflation, as we measure it, is coming down, which of course is a great success, then the level of prices being so much higher than it just was a couple of years ago, I think that still is a problem. And we need to realize that sort of the inflation in general is perhaps a bigger concern for the economy and the population than the inflation running just a bit below our target, as we had the situation some years ago.
Yes, most certainly. And if we're looking at the very complex and challenging task that all of you here have to master and juggle at the same time, namely deal with lingering inflation and wage pressures while at the same time addressing pressing spending needs. That is not an easy task, Managing Director. We just heard that the state of crisis is the new norm. When you travel the world and speak to central bankers and ministers and governors, is that fully understood?